It's an interesting question someone asked me today. There's a husband and wife. The husband is keeping Shabbos already. The wife is on the way to keeping Shabbos. The question is, if they're invited to a distant place for dinner, can the wife drive the husband to the dinner? And the argument, the pro, was that it would be better for Shalom Bayis. It would be better for Shalom Bayis, it would be better for the domestic harmony at home if she would be allowed to drive him. Otherwise, it would be a point of contention. So the truth is that it says that the Torah was given to create peace in the world. And so it cannot be that following what the Torah says in the long run, it cannot be that it violates peace, because the whole Torah is about peace. On the other hand, there's absolutely no way that the Torah allows someone to drive another person unless it's a case of someone's life is in danger. So the real answer is that no, you can't do it. On the other hand, it's not something that will hurt the peace at home. It's something which will only increase the peace at home, because the Torah's essence is peace, and so if you're following the path of Torah, it can't violate peace. And so one time I want to talk about this. There are a lot of people who build beautiful homes externally together, and it seems like they have everything going for them, and yet there are these moments, and the moments sometimes last for weeks and months and years, where neither spouse finds any solace in their home, and there's these stares, and they try to communicate, to have more conversations again, but not the way it used to be. And I wanted to contribute something tonight that hopefully we can walk away with, to have a tool to enhance the peace at home between husband and wife, and also between all the Jewish people, at the mitzvah of Avos Yisrael, creating love between Jews. This is very relevant to this week's Torah portion. How so? This week's Torah portion talks about the prohibition of eating meat and milk. Now the Torah always is unity, bring things together. And yet the Torah says, no, meat and milk, separate. They have to be separate. What does that mean? There is, in the Torah portion which talks about love, loving your fellow like yourself, the Torah says, do not bear a grudge, do not take revenge, love your fellow like yourself. And then the next thing the Torah says is, there should be separation. When you plant seeds, there be separation. When you wear certain kinds of clothing, you have to be careful that there's no wool mixed with linen. So in the same place the Torah talks about love and peace and harmony, in that same section, the Torah talks about separation, about there being distance. So the reason for this is because each of us has in ourselves two opposing forces. On the one hand, we have a need to be who we are as an individual. We need to be ourselves. We need to be positively someone else and distinct than another person. We have a need to be an individual. On the other hand, we have a need to connect. We have a need to be part of something bigger than ourselves. We have a need to leave who we are individually and to be part and connect with someone else. So these are two opposing forces. It seems they can contradict each other. But the Torah is telling us that the mitzvah of loving your fellow like yourself doesn't mean to erase yourself. It doesn't mean to obliterate yourself. It means to actualize yourself. That you as an individual, you as who you are, you contribute to the union and connection with someone else. So in this context, I found this week a fascinating letter of the Rabbi, which really explains so much about marriage and about life. It's hard to tell from the letter exactly what happened, but it's pretty clear that there was a groom and bride, and they sought the Rebbe's blessing for their marriage, and the condition of the Rebbe's blessing was that the bride had agreed to keep Torah. And she writes to the Rebbe, apparently, that there's some things she likes about the Torah, some things she doesn't like about the Torah, and she feels that if she would accept the things that she doesn't like about the Torah, she would only do this with a sense of coercion. She wouldn't really be her own desire. And therefore, she's asking the Rebbe, not asking, more like complaining, why you putting all this on me. That's the way she felt. So Rebbe responds, it's understood that this approach that you have is not correct. It's not aligned. When you want to begin a new order in life, it's clear that every one of the two parties begin a new life together. They want to have a fortunate life. They want to have a good life. And who is the one in charge of having quality of life, a fortunate life? The quantity of the quality of life, the quality of life. Who decides how much there should be good fortune in life? The quantity and quality. Who decides that? The one who decides this is only the King of Kings, only Him. So, and since that's what everyone wants, you shouldn't ask the question, what do I want or what do I not want? The question only is, the approach has to be, upon whom it depends. Upon what does it depend that we should have a good fortune? On what conditions can we hope that there should actually be good fortune practically? So, it says that a wife could be Ezer connected, she could be a support for her husband. It also says she could connect with Elachim, she could fight with her husband. So it's impossible to know what kind of marriage, how marriage will work. It's impossible to know how things will be. But in large measure, what you want to know in advance is what it is the relationship that they have to each other, and what relationship they have to the perspectives of each other. And looking at the way they look, their perspectives towards each other, and the way they relate to each other, and the way they relate to each other's perspectives, that's how you could hope how things will continue in the next decades. You can't know, but that's how you could hope. So regarding your husband, your future husband, I told him he shouldn't hide anything from you about his perspective on life, and he should ask her clearly to say what her relationship is to his perspective on life. But someone, as she writes in her letter, she wants to live her life according to what she wants, what Hashem wants. Hashem instructs, and that doesn't matter to her. That's not important to her. So Rebbe says, you really have to ask the question, is this the right thing to do? Is this really someone who's ready for marriage in this kind of situation? So since your husband, to be, asked my opinion, he wanted my agreement to this marriage. And so I wrote that if the marriage is based upon the foundation of Torah and mitzvahs, then I can agree with a full heart to give the blessing of the marriage, my agreement to the marriage. But if the situation is where someone says that I want to only agree to some details of what Hashem says. Some details Hashem wants me to do, I don't want to agree. So, and to this case in point, one point, I hope I don't lose the crowd with the example. The example everybody gives is covering your hair with a tichel, covering your hair with a wig. Is it worth it to wear, if it's not comfortable? No one would ever say that's comfortable. It's the funnest thing to wear a wig. The funnest thing to cover your hair. No one would ever say that. But people give a lot more to create peace in the home. In order to create love, people are ready to do a lot in order there should be love in the home. So if your people are ready to give so much, how much more so, the Rebbe says, should you be ready to give away this convenience in order to create a fortunate life together? The Rebbe concludes, may God give you the ability to recognize your path in life and to decide in a way that's good for you with true good, which is a good. What's true good? A good which is good both physically and a good which is good spiritually. And the truth is, Rebbe says, you can't have one without the other. If something's going to be good physically, it's going to be good spiritually as well. If something's going to be good spiritually, inevitably it's going to lead to a good life physically as well. That's the letter. So let's analyze this for a second. So her perspective was, I don't want to obliterate myself. I don't want to be forced. I don't want to be coerced. The Rebbe is not telling her you need to be coerced. It's worth it to be coerced. The Rebbe is telling her that the approach needs to be what will create a fortunate life together. Not to consider so much what's the funnest thing for you right now, but think about what is really fortune for you guys together. There was a great Torah giant named Rabbi Zalman Auerbach. He was a renowned posek, a world-renowned posek, and he also was a head of a yeshiva called Kol Torah. And every time his students noticed, whenever he went into the yeshiva, whenever he went home, they would accompany on the way home, and they would ask him questions. It was the latest Torah lesson. Rabbi, what did you mean when you said this? What do you mean that? And when he noticed, whenever they got to the house, he would stop. He would straighten out his jacket, adjust his hat. Every time he would dust himself off, Rabbi, what are you doing? He says, Rabbi Akiva says that if a husband and wife merit, the divine presence rests in their home. So I'm about to encounter the divine presence. The Shekhinah is in our home. I want to prepare before I reach the Shekhinah. It says in the Torah that the word man in Hebrew is made up of the letters a fire of Yud, Eish Yud, Ish is fire of Yud. The word for woman is Isha, Eish, Hey, fire of Hey. So the Gemara says, if a husband and wife merit, then the Shekhinah, the divine presence, rests with them. And if they don't, then there's a fire, then there's damage. So what does it mean if they merit? What do you mean if they merit? You know what it means if they merit? If they feel they're lucky. If the husband feels, I'm lucky I found this person, and the wife feels, I'm lucky I found this to be my husband, then the Shekhinah rests with them. If that's how they feel. They feel meritorious. The Hebrew word for meritorious also comes from the same word as refinement. It takes work to have this experience. Rabbi Shmuel Eliyahu was the son of the Mordechai Eliyahu. Mordechai Eliyahu knew some people that worked in the house of the Baba Sali. And of all the stories this person who worked in the house of the Baba Sali said, this following story I'm about to share with you is the most amazing story of the Baba Sali. Unbelievable story. The Baba Sali and his wife once got into some argument. It was disagreement, an understatement. It was fire. The Baba Sali in general was a man of fire. He was a man, Baba Sali, that was his path in serving Hashem, fire. So the next day, the Baba Sali comes home and he says to his wife, did your father come to you in a dream last night? She's like, how do you know that? I guess you know how he knows that. She's Baba Sali. So what happened was, she had real questions about staying married after what happened. She didn't know if she should stay in this home anymore. She didn't know if this, after what happened, she was thinking, maybe this is not the right place for me. The wife of the Baba Sali, imagine, the Baba Sali is a tzaddik, is an angel, and his wife is also an angel. And yet they had this big fight, and she was like, I don't know if I should stay here. And her father came to her in a dream and says, continue. So Baba Sali said to her like this, I have a nature of being critical. I'm critical of myself, I'm critical of others, that's my nature. And every day, when I wake up in the morning, and I say my prayers, after I finish my prayers, I go to the mezuzah, and I say to Hashem, please, help me. I try to educate myself. Help me that I shouldn't be so critical of my wife. Help me that I should learn how to only act in a way that brings her happiness. And I ask Hashem every day, and I'm trying, I'm working hard, but I don't always get it. But I just want you to know that this is what I know that I need to work on, and I'm working hard, and I'm not there, and it's an issue I have. Baba Sali. There's an issue I have, and I'm working on this. This is Baba Sali. The greatness of a person is not they don't have issues. The greatness of a person is that they have an issue and they work on the issue. Someone's born without issues, okay? But the Baba Sali was a tzaddik. He never gets a hara. But his path in serving Hashem was critical. So it's hard to imagine who the Baba Sali is because we're just human beings. But the Baba Sali, his criticism wasn't like a human being being critical, an ego criticism. It came from a very deep, holy place, and therefore the criticism was with fire. Understand? So it's not easier to resist your ego than resist your neshama. So getting back to our subject over here, we're saying that there's two kinds of forces. We have a force you want to connect, and we have a force you need to be individualistic. And it seems that they're a contradiction, but they're actually not a contradiction to each other. Think about a child going out to play. The child is playing, and his mother is sitting on the side talking to her friend. And the child waves to the mother. If the mother waves back, what's the child going to do? He's going to go play. He's going to play with his other friends, and he'll go on the slide, and go on the monkey bars, and hang on and act all kinds of stunts. If the mother doesn't look at him, he'll go over to the mother, and he'll touch her and say, Mom. The mother smiles, and then he goes on the monkey bars. In order for him to be able to be as an individual, he has to be connected to where he comes from. He needs his mother, in the connection to his mother, connection to his home, connection to who he comes from, to be strong as an individual. It doesn't break you. It doesn't make you take away your individualism. The contrary, your connection to where you come from, that's what spurs and creates the creativity and the energy to be individual. I know this happens all the time. I just vivid memories of take a child to the doctor. The doctor gives the child an injection, gives him a shot, and the child, you're holding the child down, right? You're forcing the child to get the injection. It's all your fault, right? And the child is very upset at you for holding it down. No. And then after they get the shot, what do? They hug you. Tati. What did I tell you? There is milchiks and fleishiks. There's dairy and there's meat. And they have to be separated. The Torah is telling us that the key to loving your fellow like yourself is to be yourself. Not to obliterate yourself. You have to. Let me say it this way. Let's say we're here by the Torah class. Why are you by the Torah class? So Beryl was here because his friend Shemerel invited him to come to this Torah class. Let's say Beryl's like, this Torah class is not like the other Torah class. The other one, they serve better food, that's more enjoyable. The Rabbi is a little more interesting. Whatever. I'll go to this one because I want to hang out with you, Shemerel. Shemerel, you're my buddy. That's not really connecting. You're not really connecting with Shemerel. You're giving away of yourself for the sake of connecting with Shemerel, but you're losing your individualism. To really connect with Shemerel, you know what you need to do? You need to go to a Torah class you both like to go together. To really connect with someone, you have to keep your individualism. You don't ignore your individualism. The husband and wife, if what they do to connect is to do something that only one of them finds interesting, they're not connecting from a deeper place. They're ignoring their individualism. There are people which are literally homeless. They're homeless. Physically, they're homeless. They don't have a place to live. But the reason we need to have a home, says anyone who does not have a house is not a home, is not a man. The idea of having a home is not just having a physical place to sleep. It's having a place that you're seen, a place that you're welcome. A lot of people which they run around and they act with such, it seems, confidence and courage and everything, but it's all because they're missing this sense of validation at home. They're trying to compensate what they're missing in their home, the connection with their spouse, and they're trying to compensate by accomplishing things, by getting more money, by getting more things. But it doesn't really satisfy. In order to really be successful on the outside, and what you're trying to achieve in the world, there has to be the other force, which is, where do you come from? Where are you seen? Sometimes you walk into shul, and you want to dance. You want to dance. Doesn't happen to you? You want to dance. Shomli, you know what I'm talking about. Shomli wants to dance. Then you scream, you dance, and then like, oh, Shah, why are you acting so weird? You want to be part of the group, but there's a conflict. The truth is that this conflict is what creates things. An electricity, created by positive and negative. In order for a Kohen Gadol, in order for the high priest to be able to serve in the Kodesh HaKadoshim, the Holy of Holies in Yom Kippur, what does he need to be? He needs to be married. In other lahavs, other religions, holiness is separation. Separation. That you're not married. But in Judaism, holiness means that you're able to handle and accept another person for who they are. Accept them for who they are and connect with them. The Hebrew word for perfection. What does perfection mean? Perfection means that there's two things. There are a bunch of things and nothing's missing. All things are there and what's perfect. The Hebrew word shleimus, which means perfection, also means to make do, to accept. In order to have perfection, you have to be able to accept. I'll give you an example I think everyone will be able to understand. An orchestra. An orchestra is that everyone is playing their instrument in tandem with each other. And during the symphony, during the orchestra, during the presentation, one guy is playing the violin. When the violin sometimes has a solo. But even when the violin has a solo, you could see the guy who's playing the piano, he's stopping, but he's not really stopping. He's listening to the one who's playing the violin. His eyes are sparkling. His head is shaking. He's choosing as a piano player to connect with the violinist. It's not that when there's a solo that only the one who's playing the violin is playing. It's still an orchestra. Everyone's playing their own tune. Everyone has their own individual thing they're bringing to the table, but they're creating something bigger than that. They're creating a whole orchestra of people. So in a similar way, in the Torah's instruction to love your fellow like yourself, in the Torah's instruction of building a home together, the Torah is not negating yourself. You have to be who you are as an individual, and with that, you bring your individualism to create the home together. So this explains something about these mitzvahs I mentioned: the mitzvah of shatnez, mitzvah of not mixing wool and linen together, the mitzvah of meat and milk, and the mitzvah of not planting things together, planting different species together. The Torah says you're allowed to create a garment of wool and linen together, but you're not allowed to cook meat and milk together. You're not allowed to cook meat and milk together, but you're allowed to create a garment that's wool and linen. You just can't wear it. But regarding meat and milk, you can't cook it, you can't eat it, you can't enjoy it. You can't create it. You can't plant two seeds of different kinds together. Because when you make a garment together of wool and linen, there's still the wool and still the linen there. When does it become one? It becomes one when you're wearing it, and it's contributing together to you as a person. But when you make the meat and milk, and you cook meat and milk together, you're obliterating their identity individually, and you're making them into one. You're cooking them together, making a new entity. The Torah is saying that Hashem has also an element of sacrifice. Hashem tells us we have to have sacrifice. The Rebbe once asked, where does Hashem do sacrifice himself? Hashem says we have to have Mesiras Nefesh. Everything Hashem tells us to do, we also should do. He does. Where does Hashem do sacrifice? There's one time the Torah says, Hashem says, obliterate my name to bring peace in husband and wife. The Torah says that if a husband suspects his wife of being unfaithful, that what's done is they take a cup of a liquid, and Hashem's name is erased in the liquid to bring, so that if the woman brings the liquid, the sota water, she could prove that she was innocent because nothing happened to her. Hashem says, take my name and obliterate it to bring peace to husband and wife. Hashem says that there is something higher than that's worth working for. We see the old tzaddikim, old Gdolei Yisrael, they invested a lot of time creating domestic harmony between their spouses. The Baba Sali, Shemazam Merebach. You see, the people gave them themselves to create this. Why? Because this is where it brings the Shekhinah. This brings the divine presence in our life. And this also brings divine presence, not just in a home of husband and wife, but between Jews, where there's Ahavas Yisrael. As we say every day in our prayers, bless us, our Father, all is one, that our being together as one, that's what brings the bracha of Hashem. And that now as we're preparing for Mashiach, as all the signs of the Torah, and every day you read the news, you see another thing that points that we're really there. As we're praying for Mashiach, the thing to do is to increase our Ahavas Yisrael, not to obliterate yourself, but you as an individual, you contribute what you have to the unity with another person. Chaim, chaim, v'rach. Go on to share any questions, comments, criticism, tomatoes, cucumbers, compliments.